Hi everyone. Today I'd like to talk about how GeoPrism Registry validates hierarchical relationships when importing data to a GeoPrism Registry instance. This is important to maintain the quality of relationships between GeoObjects and a hierarchy in the system itself. Before I dive in, I just want to go through a couple housekeeping items. First, if you have any general questions or want to share information about GeoPrism Registry, go to geoprismregistry.com and you'll get a website with a bit of information, including links to the documentation and the code on GitHub. You go to docs.geoprismregistry.com, you'll get the current documentation that's online for GeoPrism Registry. Go to the GeoPrism-registry repository in TerraFrame's account. You'll get the code base for GeoPrism Registry. Finally, if you go to the GeoPrism-registry-example-data repository in TerraFrame's account, you will get all the public data information that's being used in these demos. So if I click into Spreadsheets, Health, today we're going to use this data set, right? Health Centers ML 1305200.xlsx. So let's jump in real quick. Here we have the homepage of GeoPrism Registry. If you've watched the other videos, this should be familiar. So let's go and look at the hierarchical data, the structure of the data, which we set up in the last couple videos, which I'll link in the description of this video, just to recap what we did before. So here we have the GeoObject type we created, which was Health Center Example. I didn't add any of the additional custom attributes. This is just a default GeoObject type definition stored as a point geometry type. Scroll down to the hierarchies. We'll find our Health Center Hierarchy Example hierarchy, which inherited the administrative health hierarchy, the administrative structure hierarchy from Shire up, and we added our Health Center Example GeoObject type as a child of Shire. That's important. The possible relationship types that we're going to look at today are this link between Health Center Example and the Shire, meaning Health Center Example is a child of Shire. So we're talking about importing data today, so we should probably take a look at the data. This is the spreadsheet we're going to use. It's a small spreadsheet. And we're going to focus on this top record just for simplicity's sake. We're going to specifically look at how the Shire code and name are validated when importing to this data set. Because remember, Shire is the direct parent of health centers, which this spreadsheet is showing all centers. So in one of our previous videos, we've already successfully imported this data set. So we know that this imports correctly. What I want to do to make sure that we actually generate a problem or detect a problem in the system is change the code for this top health center, which is the Galopin. So I'm just going to change this Shire code ID to 999 and save the spreadsheet. Okay, so what we've just done is simply took the data that we previously uploaded, changed the parent reference, so what GeoObject ID should be for the parent of that Galopin Health Center. We intentionally changed it to something that doesn't exist in the system. So let's go to the import screen. We have import spreadsheet selected. Let's select our Health Center Example hierarchy. Select the Health Center Example GeoObject type. And first we'll start with an import strategy of update only. And the start date, we'll make this 2010, January 1st, 2010. And we'll make end date to be present. So this data should be relevant from January 1st, 2010 to now. Select a file, select the data set that we just changed, hit submit. Select the longitude field and the latitude field, which is the mapping. This is the mapping screen between our spreadsheet and this instance of GeoPrism Registry, which is the demo instance. So simply we're saying that the longitude field in GeoPrism Registry should map to the long field in the spreadsheet. Code here is the HF_ID, which is health facility ID. And the labels I want to use are the HF_name, so the facilities in English. So here in this screen, we've touched on in some of the previous videos, is the screen for mapping the hierarchy relationships from the source data to GeoPrism Registry. So here we can see is the structure of the hierarchy that we just looked at in the administrative hierarchy. So we have Shire at the bottom, then counties and region. In this case, we can just select the information for Shire, which is the direct parent of health facility, because we, in this case, we're going to have a one-to-one mapping between the data system and the data that we're. It'll just save me a little bit of time to not fill this additional. So the parent I'm looking for is Shire code, and the match strategy that I'm going to start with is code only fastest. So what this means is this GeoPrism is only going to look at the ID field, or the code field, excuse me, in the geo object, in the Shire geo object type, try to do the matching. System is processing, and you go to the scheduled jobs page, and here we can see that it already failed. This is good. This is what we expected. If I click on the Resolve Problems button on the right, I can see that there's a row validation problem, and we were unable to find the parent location type for Shire, for the Shire hierarchy with the code 99. So in other words, the system does not have a Shire with code 9. There's only one row affected. There's an option here to resolve. I'm going to click on that. Gives us that same information again in a different format. Sometimes this screen will give you a little more information than the previous screen. Actually, this one does as well. Sorry. So to resolve this problem, we must correct the data in the original source, meaning the spreadsheet, and re-import. I'm not going to do that in this case because we know that this data would import correctly if I change it back to what it was before we changed it to 999. But I wanted to demonstrate what happens if we use a code-only match strategy when trying to import against a parent that doesn't exist. In this case, the system is being very explicit that to only look at the code field of the parent when trying to match. Let's go back. Just for clarity's sake, I'm going to cancel this import, which means basically I don't want to fix this problem. Let's just ignore that I tried to. And now that'll leave us with a clean scheduled jobs page. So when we import this sheet again, we'll know exactly what we won't have duplicates. So let's go back to import. And again, we're going to select the health center hierarchy example, health center example object type. And this time we're going to use new and update import strategy. select that same 2010, that same start date, 2010, January 1st, that is most current, and import. Again, I did not change this spreadsheet other than what I showed earlier in this video. Submit. Student latitude fields, code and label fields, Shire code, our match strategy, code, label, and synonyms. So what this means is as we're trying to match, as the spreadsheet is trying to find a match in GeoPrism Registry, the registry will first look at the code mappings to see if we can find a unique match in the code to Shire. If that doesn't work, we'll look at labels. And then if that doesn't work, we'll look at any synonyms that might exist to try to figure out whether there's a possible relationship across all three of those fields. Submit. Go to the scheduled job page. We can see it failed as expected. Click resolve problems. You can see there's a parent reference problem on the 999 label. So that's label and not code. Let's click on resolve to see what the options are. You can see it's a little bit different than last time. Before, this message was that we have to change our original source data and re-import because there was nothing GeoPrism Registry could do with a strict matching strategy like we had. But here we're trying to match on other fields in the system. So there's a little bit more flexibility. And it says, to resolve, you may create a synonym or ignore all rows which contain this meaning. I can push the ignore button and this top row, the Galapin Health Center, would be ignored, meaning not imported, or I can try to find a synonym. Now, if I go back to data, we can see the code that we changed to 999. The name is Alne, A-L-N, for that same Shire. So let's look to see if we can find the parent, which right here is the parent. So I just searched the parent data, meaning the Shires, to see if I could find the parent that I expected to be in the data. And here I can see that yes, it does exist, or at least a GeoObject with that label exists. And this is the ID that's given, which this is the ID that was originally in the spreadsheet before. So here I can select that, which will register that our new ID as a synonym of this ID, and we can then choose to create that synonym link. So choose. We can do the same thing. So in this case, I'm using codes, but we can do that same thing with labels if we were trying to match purely on the labels instead of selecting the code field in the previous matching screen. I'm going to click the Create Synonym button real quick. Now I can re-import. And we can see it just import. Go to our list page just to take a peek at our data. We can click on the Health Center example list, type into the list. Here we can see our top row, expected. Going to refresh this list, open it up real quick, just to take a look at it on the map. And that's all I wanted to show you. Thanks a bunch.